Okay. Well, thank you guys for taking time to be on tonight. This is something that's very close to my heart, and it's also something that I feel like we need to hear some truth about. And so that's what I'm here to do tonight. And if you have a pen and paper, I would encourage you to grab that so you can kind of take some notes as we go tonight. So first of all, I just want you to know that what we teach is something that's very, very simple. And you're not going to hear anything that's wild or crazy here tonight. You're going to hear just some very basic information. But what I'm hoping is that you kind of clear your mind tonight. What I'm hoping is that you will kind of, whatever you know about nutrition, whatever you have heard, whatever you believe, I really want you tonight to just kind of clear your mind of that and take a new approach. Because as I've worked with women for over 10 years on this subject, what I tend to ask these women is I say, is what you're doing working? And usually they say no, otherwise they wouldn't be seeking something else. And then what I ask them is, has anything you've done ever worked for you with weight or food? And honestly, when I ask that question, usually they do have an answer. They say, yes, when I did this or that, or when I did this or that. But what I always find with that is there's a time frame in their life where it worked. There was a time that they were super focused. There was a time that they lost this amount of weight. But then what happened? Well, they went back to maybe an old habit. And so, I've watched women over time, and that cycle is just something that will wear you out. And so I really felt like after all of that and listening to that and going through it myself, that there had to be a better way. I don't feel like we're supposed to live that way. I don't feel like we're supposed to live, oh, we were really good during this time and now I'm bad. No, we're not like that. And so a couple things that we're going to go over tonight is, number one, we need to stay off the scale. If you're on this call tonight, I could guarantee that you've been on that scale and that you've let it determine your worth. And the sad part about that is it's simply a number. We have let the scale have too much power over our lives. And so if you're taking notes, I would encourage you to write that down. Stop letting the scale take power over your life, because it's not truth, and it's not teaching you that you are worth it. It's not teaching you that you're worth anything. And so I want you to really think about that tonight. This is funny, and I share this on every webinar I ever do because I think it's hilarious. We've probably all done this. We start the day off well, have our plain Greek yogurt, and then we have our salad for lunch because people are watching. And then what happens is we come home and we eat the entire kitchen. Well, as funny as that is, there's a lot of truth to that. Oftentimes it's because we're tired in the evenings. It's because we just are hungry. I mean, if that's all you're eating all day, yes, you're going to be hungry. And oftentimes it's that it's not realistic. The things that we set ourselves up to do are not realistic. And so we fail, and we feel like a failure. And then we do want to eat the entire kitchen. And I love this too, because it's kind of funny. A balanced diet is chocolate in both hands. And I've actually written a blog article with that quote in it. And you know what? Maybe there is a little bit more truth to that than we realize. Because if I asked anyone on this call tonight, have you ever felt out of balance when you've been on a diet? Probably so. Oftentimes what diets do, at least what they do to me, is they make me hyper-focused on what I can and can't eat. And what that in turn does is it turns me into an emotional wreck. And you may not be there. You may do just fine on diets. But what I do find is that actually balance is something where we can have chocolate. When we have balance in our lives, we're realizing that everything is okay in moderation. And that's a big truth that we teach in our program. So go ahead and write that down. Again, if you're taking notes. Excuse me, I was a teacher, and so I tend to remind you when to take notes. But some of these key points need to be said. Everything in moderation is okay. Now, this is a big topic with our Listen and Lose. Food is fuel. It's not therapy. I just want to ask you tonight, have you really ever thought about your emotional connection with food? Every woman I've ever worked with has some sort of emotional connection with food. Now, don't hear that I'm thinking that we all have some eating disorder here tonight or that we're all going through something. I don't believe necessarily that, but I do believe all women have some sort of disordered eating. Not an eating disorder, but some sort of disordered eating. And what I mean by that is that somehow you've related food to your happiness or to your sadness or to whatever it may be. And so it's a real struggle that we all face. And so I just want to ask you this tonight. Have you ever believed that food will fix you? Not only, maybe eating too much because you're sad, lonely, scared, tired, whatever, but also because we've maybe believed that a diet is going to fix us. And guess what, guys? I hate to break it to us all tonight, but it's not going to happen. That is not going to fix us. we're worth more than using food for this some sort of therapy that we're trying to do. I don't know why you're on this call tonight. I don't know where you are in your life, but I hope that you'll kind of start to listen to some of the things that we're sharing tonight, because it's real. Some of the tough questions we may want to ask ourselves, and some of the things that I had to ask myself personally to get through some of the things that I struggled with food was, have you ever hidden something you're eating? If you have, why? Why are you hiding that food? Or have you ever eaten a lot of food and then felt really guilty? Yes, I could guarantee everyone on this call could say a big, strong yes to that. And let me stop real quick there. After we feel guilty, what do? Well, we either over-exercise or we promise that we're going to start a new diet the next day. Okay, you see this cycle that's happening. And then we probably have also promised ourselves that it's the last time I'm ever going to eat chocolate. It's the last time I'm ever going to eat a cookie. Well, guys, that's not realistic, because the next time a birthday party comes along, or the next time that temptation is there, if you've said that and if you've said it out loud, then you most likely are then going to go back to the top part and you're going to go have to hide it, okay, because of the guilt that you feel. And so you can see how this little cycle happens. And have you ever been on a diet? Absolutely. We probably all have tried some sort of diet or another. Now, so tonight what I want to clarify is that our diets should be what we eat. It's not that we go on a diet. Our diets should be a healthy choice of foods, okay? And so what was all developed from this whole program, and I'm going to talk about this kind of throughout the call, is that these 7 tips here really is kind of what has guided this Listen and Lose program. Now, many of you may have heard of our Listen and Lose program before, but it's got some power to it in the fact that it's not going to give you a list of what to eat and what not to eat. I believe that that's the number one cause of rebellion with food. Oftentimes when we're told that we can't have chocolate, what do we want? More chocolate. And so instead, we're going to kind of look a little bit deeper as to why we're maybe dealing with our emotions with food. So we got to check those emotions, all right? That's a big deal. Before you grab that second piece of cake, why? Are you sad, lonely, scared, bored, anxious, or did you just want it? Okay, and sometimes that's the case. We need to slow down. We are shoveling food in our mouths because our society is going so fast that we're not even really realizing that we're even hungry or that we're actually full. Number 3, I love, and people are always in shock about this, is we have to allow ourselves a small treat every day. 150 calories of a treat is not going to sabotage your weight. It's not. But what will sabotage your weight if you say, I can't have it, I can't have it, I can't have it. And what do? You go and have 10 of them because you've told yourself you can't have it. And so it's a really big key, guys, is to legalize some of those foods and have that freedom. The other thing that I want you to look at, number 4, is don't diet. Okay, don't try to eliminate entire food groups at a time. I've heard of people that will eliminate a ton of different things at once. Well, if you throw your body into this serious shock, you might go crazy. Now, I know that there's some people out there who have some strength beyond what I'm ever seen. But for me, what I've seen when we're looking at, lifelong things, we don't want to try to say that for the rest of our lives, we're not going to have carbohydrates. Okay. We can make better choices. We can eliminate some of the sugary ones, but we got to be careful with what we set ourselves up for as well. Okay. We're not going to hide anything we're eating. Okay. We're going to ask ourselves this important question. All right. If I eat that second, third, fourth pizza, how am I going to feel tomorrow? All right. And if you can start to get there, that's going to give you the power to choose. Because guess what? No one's shoving it down your face. Eating is one of those things, it's a few things in life that you really can control if you'll allow yourself to really make those decisions. And then lastly, have grace on yourself, because if you ate too much last night, the worst thing you can do is beat yourself up because you're just going to continue that same cycle. So let's say you have too much food. Okay, have some grace on yourself. Don't go the clean out the pantry route and go extreme. Just start again. All right. I'm speaking some truth there because I know that I've been there as well. As I've shared throughout this call already, I get it. I've been there. I developed this program because of my own struggles that I've had with food. But I tell you what, I have experienced freedom like I've never experienced before. I just had a brownie. All right. I'm doing a nutrition call and I'm telling you that I just had a brownie. And the reason I can tell you that is I had 1 brownie. I didn't have 10. Whereas in my past, I would have had a lot and I would have hidden it and I would have never shared that with anybody. Because what I was able to see is that my past struggles were an emotional issue. And what I realized is that God didn't want us to be in bondage. I was the queen dieter, guys. I was the queen food tracker. I had every little tracker, journal, log. I would run half marathons. I would train. I would exercise like a crazy person. I would have goals out there. And you know what? After a while, I realized I was in some serious bondage. All right. No one on the outside knew what was going on, but inside I was internally struggling all the time, worried about what I was eating, constantly thinking about calories, constantly obsessing about it. And you know what? I don't have to do that anymore. And my heart is to help other women to get there as well. Now, is it perfect? No way. Do I still have times where I struggle? Absolutely. But I tell you what, much better on this side. And that's what I hope for women. So really this works. The Listen and Lose program works, but it's got to start with your heart. It's got to start on the inside. And we do have a YouTube video that kind of explains that a little more as well. So let's get into a little bit more about, we've talked about the emotional side. Now that doesn't just mean we can eat Twinkies all day either. So a lot of you jumped on this call to maybe get some help with some of your meal planning. And so we're going to talk about that stuff too. But what we need to realize is that we really do have a choice. And so our bodies are capable of being very healthy, but society is becoming a very diseased society. And so depending on what we're putting in is really going to be the output of what happens. You know, most diseases are preventable, and it really depends on what we're doing to our body with our food and the things that we drink. And so let's talk a little bit about what that looks like. You know, we've all heard the words carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, but I will tell you this, is that I feel like society is way overeducated on this and probably overeducated on the wrong stuff. Too many people know too much about it, and they really don't have the facts down. And so tonight, I'm going to just share just some basic facts about kind of what each of these macronutrients actually are, so that you have a better understanding of what is going on here. So a carbohydrate is important to know. It's our main energy source. Now, if you've ever been on a low-carb diet, no-carb diet, Atkins diet, any of those where it really strips away the carbohydrates, what you find is that you're tired. You are tired all the time. Like you can hardly even function. And I know, I've done it. Okay. So the good carbohydrates are our main energy source. And so we've got our simple and our complex. And this is where people get into trouble here, right? Those simple ones are going to be a lot of your white sugars and those ones that really digest really, really quick. And so then they do kind of cause some of that extra fat storage in our bodies. And so the complex carbohydrates is what we're really going after here. All right. But we have to have carbohydrates to function. What people don't always realize is that fruits and vegetables are carbohydrates. And so whenever you hear people saying that they're not allowed to have fruits because of the sugar content, that's not true, guys. God made fruit, okay? God designed fruit to be able to be absorbed in our body perfectly. And that fructose is a sugar that we can absorb. Have as many fruits and vegetables as you would like, okay? Because again, as we talked before, when we give ourselves do's and don'ts, we really tend to rebel. And so you say, well, I can't have fruit. I can't have fruit. It's too much sugar. I can't. And then you're going to run off and go eat a couple of cookies because you're sick and tired of the whole thing. Okay. And so we really need to remember that moderation. So the next macronutrient is protein. Now, protein is probably one of the most misunderstood nutrients out there. So let's talk a little bit about what it does, and then we'll talk about how to get it. We need to know that it increases that lean body mass, which is important, especially if you are doing workout classes or you are in any sort of training. You need to know that we've got to increase our lean body mass and decrease our fat body mass, okay? But protein also leads to a quicker recovery. So you've probably heard your trainer say, make sure you get your protein in at least an hour after workout. 30 minutes to an hour is really ideal, okay? It leads to better muscle recovery. But we've got to have those other nutrients too. You know, oftentimes people go protein crazy, right? They're hyper-focused on protein, and so they have way too much protein. And I don't know if you realize, but too much protein can also lead to fat. So anything in excess is going to lead to fat storage in our body, but also too much protein can lead to some other dangerous things in our body. We also want to realize that the more plant-based proteins we can have, the better. Okay, now I love my meat. I'm a meat person, and I'm not against people who are not, but the more plant-based is more easily digestible. So we're going to look at kind of what that looks like. We do teach Juice Plus in P31 Fitness, and that is because it's actually a food source. And so there's a great protein shake that they make. And if you've not been made aware of it, it's awesome. Talk to your trainer about it because it's actually real food ingredients. Believe me, I've been in exercise science and nutrition since college, and I've tried every protein drink out there, every shake I think out there, and this is the only one I've tried that I actually like. It tastes great, and I can load all kinds of fruits and vegetables in there because it actually feeds your body at that muscular cellular level, which is what we need. Okay, so think about adding these Juice Plus Complete shakes to your day. It will help you with recovery. It'll help you feel full, and it's actually good. So let us know if you have questions about that. So now that we've kind of talked about protein, hey, before I get to that, one thing I do want to add about protein, write this down. Your body can only absorb 20 to 25 grams of protein at once. Okay, so when you're all excited about your 35-gram protein shake, your body's not going to be able to absorb more than 20 to 25 grams at one time. So keep that in mind. All right, let's talk about fats. So that tends to be a scary word for a lot of people, and they don't understand that actually we need fats. We need the good fats to actually function and to survive. And so the important part is getting those good fats, right? Those good fats are very important, and the bad fats are what are scary. Okay, so when you're looking at, there's different kinds of fat. We've got unsaturated, saturated, polyunsaturated. All these different things can be a little bit confusing. And what they're also talking about, a big thing now is all the fats out there that actually are man-made fats that have kind of flipped themselves upside down, which are called the hydrogenated oils. So write that down. I want to stay away from the hydrogenated oils because those can really do some damage to our bodies. Okay, but oftentimes those good fats can be the missing link. I used to do a lot of one-on-one consults with women when I worked in a gym, and what I found is that they were doing really well with their carbohydrates and their protein, but they were scared to death to eat fats, and so they were holding on to that extra weight. And once we kind of added some of that back in, those good healthy fats, the good old guacamole. Yes, guacamole is okay. It's the basket of chips we don't want to have with it. Actually, those almonds, getting those good fats, it was able to kind of help them to lose that extra weight that they were looking to lose. Okay, so pretty important there for us to know. Now we do these food label checks. Again, we don't want to become obsessed with this, but we also have to know what's going in our bodies. Okay, so whenever we're looking at things about carbohydrates, we're looking for those whole grains. We're looking for the sugar content. We're looking to understand that we want as many whole foods in our body as possible. So when you're talking about a food label, the least amount of ingredients listed is good. Okay, so if you pick something up and you turn it over and it's got 20 ingredients, that probably means it's a lot of chemicals in there and not as much whole food. Okay, so checking the sugar content on things, checking our protein, and checking our different fat contents are important. So when we talk about kind of how to lose weight, how to get our good nutrition in our body, the most important part is we need to really focus in on our metabolism. People kind of want a Band-Aid. They want to just be able to lose weight like that. But the problem is they do it in a way that actually messes with their metabolism. Either they starve themselves, okay, which is the worst thing it can do for your metabolism, or they go on these crazy diets, which really will mess with your metabolism. But I will tell you one thing before we get into the details of this. You can fix your metabolism. That's a myth you hear often. You've probably said it yourself. Well, my metabolism's just slow. It's just the way it is. No, that's not just the way it is. We actually can create our metabolism to be the way that we want it to be. So a few ways we're going to do that. We're going to eat those small meals. All right, you've heard it your whole life. Eat every 3 to 4 hours. Okay, we're going to start our day with breakfast. We've probably all been guilty of skipping that meal, and then at about 10 o'clock we're starving and we eat anything we can. Well, that's not helping us. All right, we're going to try to eat at every meal. Write this down: a fat, a protein, and a carb. So whenever you're building your meals, you're going to be able to pick one from each of those categories. So when you sit down to have a snack, if you just have an apple, that's not enough. Okay, all you've got in there is a carbohydrate. You've got to add protein and fat every single time you eat. All right, obviously we're going to exercise. We're going to make sure we're drinking our water. That water is a key component, guys. Half of our body weight in ounces. We're going to try to get that 8 hours worth of sleep. And if you have boot camp in the morning, you're like, well, we've missed that. Okay, we want to try to get that 8 hours in of sleep, and we're never going to restrict our calories below 1,200. All right, below that number, your muscle and your body starts to actually eat itself. Your body starts to shut down, and it's not a healthy thing. And so really make sure that your calories are staying where they should be. So when we look at, a meal, I love this, and I teach this at every single webinar that we do because it's so simple. I don't know if you're on here looking for some magic fix tonight, but guys, we need to make it as simple as possible. I've got 4 little kids. I know life can be crazy. Life's crazy for you guys. So if I can just visualize this plate every time I eat, it helps me a lot. If I divide my plate, I know that half of it needs to be produce. half of it. Okay. Now, is this always how mine looks? No, I wish it did, but I'm working on it, right? Every day. In that little corner, a fourth of it needs to be your carbohydrate, your whole grains. Okay. And then the other quarter is your meat and kind of some of your others. So your fats would go into there as well. And so that probably is not the way our plates look, but it needs to be. Okay. And if you have our Listen and Lose workbook, we actually have several sample meal options for you. Again, we stay away from telling you exactly what to eat, when to eat it, because we tend to be rebellion leads and sets in. So here's just some good combos you can kind of look at. Remember I told you carbohydrate, protein, fat every time you eat. So I love this picture because it shows you some of those examples of what that could look like. Again, if you just have a banana for a snack, that's not enough. You're going to be hungry in 30 minutes. You will. If you just sit down and have some, raw carrots, awesome, great choice, but you need some more stuff with it. Okay, so your snacks need to be about 200 to 250 calories. All right, that's probably maybe a shock to some of you, but that's what our snacks need to look like. But you know what? None of this is possible if we're not prepared. If we're not prepared, we've all been there, then we're going to grab whatever's quick, whatever we can, and it most likely will not be a healthy choice. And so as hard as this may sound, when you get home from the grocery store, really is a key time. How many times have you gotten home from the grocery store, you went and got all this great stuff, man? You got your fruits, your vegetables, you got all your good servings, and you get home, and a week later, it's still sitting in the fridge and it's packaged. We've probably all been there. And so people say, man, eating healthy is expensive. Yeah, it is expensive when we don't eat it. Okay. And so we have to prepare these foods. We have to really set ourselves up for success. And so as soon as you get home, cut stuff up. Ziploc needs to be your friend. Package it in these packagings. Put it where you can see it. As soon as you open the fridge, you see these choices right there. And then try to plan those meals. At least a week ahead of time. At least have a good idea of what it is you're going to be eating so that you don't just go, well, I don't really feel like cooking tonight, or, well, I don't know, we don't have anything to eat, so let's just run down to the drive-thru. Okay, so we got to make sure that we have some sort of plan in place. Now, this is again just a sample, but when I work with people individually, what we do is we kind of walk them through what they like and don't like, and we actually put together a sample meal plan. Now, this is one that was very generic, and so I don't want you to now take a picture of this and say this is what you have to eat, because by no means is not. But I will say, if you will look at this, it probably looks like quite a bit of food, and that's because it is. But when we're eating whole food, we can have a lot more whole food than a little bit of packaged food. And so you can kind of see just as a quick glance from here that you're seeing that there's, carbs and proteins, there's fats with each thing, a lot of juice plus shakes incorporated throughout this, just a lot of different types of whole grains, whole foods. You don't see a lot of stuff coming right out of a package. Does this take time and work? Sure. But I will tell you is that you need to start to utilize what's going on. So if you've got, salmon the night before, you need to cook double so that at lunch the next day, you can have the leftovers. When I was doing real good at some of the meal prep stuff, I would always just set up my Tupperware containers right beside my skillet. So whatever I was cooking, I would just go ahead and serve into 3 to 4 Tupperware containers so that the rest of the week I was set to go, or my husband was set to go. Okay, so those are just some ideas for you. I do want to talk briefly about sugar because it's very important for us to realize what's happening in society, and kind of maybe you've had I don't know if you've had an addiction to say, but we've all probably felt like that at times. So we've had some sugar and we want more. So this is crazy, guys. Average Americans consuming 3 pounds a week and 130 pounds a year. And if you don't believe it, I want you to start to scoop in your sugar into a Ziploc based upon what you're eating each day and check it out. It'll blow your mind. All right. Check out those food labels. See what's going on. All right. The consumption of added sugar accounts for an intake of 500 calories per day, which is 1 pound a week. So many women will say, man, I just can't lose weight. Well, they're not realizing all the sugar that they're getting from various products, that it might even be hidden. Okay. The problem with sugar, guys, it's leading to inflammation. Okay. And it's addictive. This picture, I show this often. Look at that, a cocaine brain and a sugar brain. They're both lit up in the same places, which is talking about our addictive the addictive traits of both of them. So we're going to crave what we eat. So in some sense, sugar is kind of like a legalized drug. In a way, when you're craving it, you want it, you get it, it makes you feel better for a little bit, doesn't it? Okay, but then we quickly crash, much like those drugs that are out there too. So, don't be shocked if you feel like, man, I eat sugar, I want more sugar, and then I feel yucky and I crash and I want to sleep. This is why, okay? So when we talk about inflammation, this is an important thing for us to really pick up on this call tonight. Sugar leads to inflammation. Well, almost every disease out there is caused by inflammation. So, if you look at this chart here, guys, we got cancer, we've got pulmonary disease, we've got diabetes, we've got arthritis. All of these things are caused by sugar and inflammation in our bodies. Now, inflammation can be caused by several things, but the leading cause is sugar. And so if we know that, guess what? We can fight against it. Fruits and vegetables fight against inflammation. That's good news. Okay, so the more fruits and vegetables we can get in our body, the better. All right, I love this. I don't know if you can see the top, but 75% of chronic disease is actually preventable. Wow. Look at those statistics real quick. Okay, that's some scary stuff there. And you can probably see ourselves in there. 1 out of 3 will develop cancer. And this is actually a couple years old, this statistic. And so it's scary. But if we can prevent it, we need to. So we're going to look at a couple of ways. Fruits and vegetables is what we need. We need more of that, and we've always wished we could be in a capsule. Well, it is. Juice Plus is a great product, and it's the only product we endorse in P31 Fitness because it's food. I would never endorse something that could possibly lead to any sort of promises of weight loss or anything. No, Juice Plus is something that's whole food, and it's good for your body, and it's not a vitamin. It's fruits and vegetables. And it's something I've taken for 14 years now. And it's something I took through all pregnancies as my only prenatal. My kids all take it. My husband takes it. It's awesome. So if you're not currently taking it, I encourage you to do so and gain some more information from us because it's a great, great product. We don't take multivitamins in our house. We probably pee most of those out. So we want to get whole foods in our bodies as often as possible. So if you want some more information on that, let us know. Again, fruits and vegetables are going to fight off that inflammation. And for me, I want the most insurance for my body as possible to protect against cancer and diabetes. The best part about Juice Plus is that kids get to eat free when they turn 4 years old. So that's a big deal. Our kids need good health. Our kids are surrounded by so much in society that's bad for them. And so we want to at least ensure that their cells are getting Juice Plus in their bodies every day. So as we kind of wrap up this little webinar tonight, I do want to talk about our resources that we have in P31 Fitness. Many people have purchased our Listen and Lose book, and many people actually do our personal nutrition consults. But, this was kind of a mini consult tonight. So you actually got one for free. Obviously, it wasn't pertaining to you directly, but some of these resources can help you. So we've got all kinds of blog articles, we've got consults, Juice Plus, Facebook group, cookbooks, all kinds of stuff to really help you along the way. But you know what your best resource is, guys, is yourself. You probably don't need more information. You probably need to deal with those things we talked about at the beginning with the emotional connection. So, what does that look like in our life? Well, for me, it's very normal. I try to eat whole foods. I drink Juice Plus shakes 1 to 2 times a day when I can, okay? Small meals often. And you know what? I have a lot of grace on myself. I have moderation in all things. I listen to my body, and I have freedom. And like I mentioned at the beginning of this call, I've been there. I just had a brownie. I'm going to say it again. I just had a brownie, and it's okay. Okay, I didn't have 10. And so what's important for us to realize is that we have to be normal. We can't go on these extreme diets and then just try to expect it's going to fix us and go back to the way that we were. We need to try to be consistent human beings and really regain that balance that so many women are missing nowadays. We really need to have balance in all 4 parts of health and stop obsessing so much about just the physical. Couple more slides if you'll bear with me. So I will tell you this, is that there's a few things for your action plan as you get off this call tonight, and you might want to jot these down. First of all, is you got to remember that listen and lose theory. Basically, we're going to listen to our hunger and fullness cues in our body. All right, we're going to check those emotions. 2, we're going to identify our struggles and our motivations. So if you know a certain roadblock is going to come up, deal with that roadblock. Avoid that roadblock. Don't set yourself up to run into the wall time and time again. Man, why did I pig out after that situation? Well, did you know it was coming? Probably. Okay, but you also got to know what motivates you. All right. The 3rd I love, we got to set some godly goals. What if we set goals like this? I'll be more focused on my character and all 4 parts of health, becoming the person I can be, rather than focused on food and weight all the time. Isn't that a great goal? How many times have you written goals, and what are they focused on? Lose weight, do this dress size, get in here, run this many miles. Well, what if we maybe switched our mindset and kind of got our goals focused more on becoming who God has asked us to be? I think we'd probably all be in a little better position there. Another goal could be that you just want to feel better about your health, and you fill in the blanks. But we do need to start to set some of those godly goals. Again, I wanted to show you the listen and lose eating tips as we're about to wrap this up. This is on our website, and it's lots of places throughout Facebook as well. If you haven't, I want to make sure that you go to our website and click on blog. I try to write, once every 2 weeks or so, sometimes once a week, just about these types of topics, okay? About our health, about nutrition, and about what it is that we teach. And so just remember to keep it simple. We teach 2 things, listen and lose systems and Juice Plus, and that's it. All right, there's not a crazy thing you have to learn. That's it. Whole foods and to listen to your body with your emotions. It's pretty nice to just keep things simple. So as we wrap this up, I just want to remind you that, really being educated on yourself is key. So you might have been kind of challenged tonight by those questions I brought up about asking you some of those tough questions with your emotional connection, but we got to educate ourselves. We got to remember that what we eat does matter, that our body is a temple, but that we're real. Okay, guys, we're real women. We don't need to try to put on this show of being eating perfect all the time or whatever. We got to try to be real, okay? We're striving to eat that real food, and we're going to follow that listen and lose program. So let's really get real with our food tonight. Let's get real with our emotions, and just know that if there's anything I can do to help, you just reach out to me. Many women, just on a personal level, have reached out and shared their struggles, and I've done what I can to try to share my own journey with them. So if there's anything I can do to help you, please just know that I am here. So what I'm going to do is this might be scary. There's probably kids in all your all's houses. If you have a question, there should be a little chat box over there that you can just type a question. I really hate to unmute everybody because I know that people are getting kids to bed and all that stuff too. But let me try it. So let me unmute you real quick. And if it's too loud, then we'll go from there. So here we go. Okay, does anybody have any questions?